Nobody had to say it out loud, because I could feel it the second I stepped inside. Every person in that room was thinking the exact same thing. The moment I walked in, the atmosphere shifted. Voices dropped to half volume. A few smiles disappeared. I noticed chairs scrape softly as people leaned away, just enough to create distance. I wasn't threatening. I knew that. But to them, I didn't belong. A leather jacket. Solid boots. A look that wasn't asking anyone for permission. That was enough. I caught a whisper from one corner. A short, nervous laugh from another. The manager kept glancing my way like I was some kind of issue waiting to explode. I saw all of it. I felt all of it. But I didn't respond. I didn't try to justify myself. I didn't speak up. I didn't demand respect or make a scene. I just sat down and stayed quiet. What they couldn't possibly know was this. That quiet moment they were so uncomfortable with was about to matter more than anything else in that room. Because in just a few minutes, my silence would say more than words ever could. And the people who made up their minds about me the fastest would soon wish they hadn't. The community center smelled like burnt coffee and fresh paint, the kind that still lingered in the air. Morning light poured through the tall windows, laying pale shapes across the linoleum floor. People waited in small groups for the weekly health clinic to open, parents with young kids, older couples sitting close together, a tired young mom gently bouncing a restless baby on her knee. It was a quiet that felt easy, comfortable, safe. Then the door opened. I walked in wearing the same black leather jacket I've owned for years, the kind that's been through too many miles and too much weather to look new. My boots were scuffed, built for long rides, not looks. Dark jeans, a chain hanging from my belt, ink creeping up my neck, stopping just short of my jaw. I didn't make noise. I didn't slam the door or stomp across the room. I just came inside, and I could feel it immediately, the shift. The room noticed. A mother pulled her child closer to her chest. An older woman tightened her grip on her purse. Two guys in business casual clothes stopped talking halfway through a sentence, their eyes following me as I moved toward the waiting area. My face didn't give them anything to work with. No anger, no confusion, just that blank, neutral look you get when you've been through this more times than you can count. I picked a chair near the back, away from everyone else. Not because I wanted space, because the empty seats around me made it clear where people thought I belonged. I sat down slowly, careful, like I didn't want to disturb a room full of sleeping dogs. My hands rested on my knees. I didn't pull out my phone, didn't fidget, didn't try to break the silence with movement. I just waited. Across the room, a woman leaned toward her friend. She tried to keep her voice low, but it carried anyway. I don't know why they have to come to places like this. Her friend nodded, lips pressed tight. My jaw tightened for half a second. Then I let it go. I stared at the wall. Near the front desk, a security guard, middle-aged, soft around the middle, shifted his weight. His hand drifted toward his radio. He didn't call anyone, but his fingers stayed there, just in case. I noticed. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, slipped out of her father's grip and wandered toward the water cooler. She wore a bright yellow dress and sneakers that lit up with every step. She filled a paper cup, spilling half of it onto the floor. Then she turned and looked straight at me. Her eyes went wide. "Daddy," she whispered, loud enough for the room to hear. That man looked scary. Her father's face flushed. He stood up fast and scooped her into his arms. "Shoo, sweetheart. Don't point." But she kept looking. I didn't move, didn't smile, didn't wave. I lowered my eyes and focused on my hands. Minutes dragged by. A nurse stepped out from behind the desk with a clipboard and started calling names. Henderson, an older man, stood and shuffled forward. Martinez, the young mother with the baby. Kowalski. I looked up. Then I stood. Every head in the room turned as I walked toward the desk. My boots sounded heavier than they should have, each step echoing louder in my ears than on the floor. The nurse glanced at her clipboard, then at me, then back down again. "Do you have your insurance card?" I pulled a worn wallet from my pocket and handed it over. She took it without looking at my face. "Have a seat. We're running a little behind." I nodded once and went back to my chair. The whispers returned. I heard biker groups are nothing but trouble, probably on something. Why do they even let people like that in here? I closed my eyes and took slow, steady breaths. In, out, controlled, calm, quiet, even though my knuckles were white where my hands pressed against my thighs. Another 15 minutes crawled past. People were called in. Others left. New faces came through the door. I stayed where I was, still as stone. A teenage kid walked by with earbuds in and a backpack over one shoulder. He glanced at me, then took a wide detour. The security guard checked his watch and walked past my chair. He stopped. "You doing okay, buddy?" The words sounded polite. The tone didn't. I opened my eyes. "Yeah, just checking." He moved away, but not far. I let out a slow breath. Across the room, an older woman with silver hair and pearls leaned toward the receptionist. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Is that man supposed to be here?" The receptionist blinked. "I'm sorry, that man in the back. Is he registered?" "Ma'am, everyone here has an appointment." "I see." The woman sat back down, but she kept looking over her shoulder. I saw all of it. I didn't say anything. I didn't defend myself. I didn't stand up and explain that I had the same right to be there as anyone else. I just stayed seated and waited, because arguing never changes minds. And staying silent takes a lot less energy than carrying anger around. The clinic doors finally opened, and a nurse stepped out again, clipboard in hand. "Kowalski." I stood up once more. This time, not as many people looked my way. Either they were used to seeing me now, or they decided I wasn't about to cause trouble. Either way, the tension had dulled just a little. I followed the nurse down a narrow hallway. She didn't try to make conversation. No smile. No small talk. She stopped beside a scale and pointed. "Step on, please." I did. She wrote the number down without comment. Blood pressure. I sat and rolled up my sleeve. The cuff tightened, squeezed, then released. "Little high," she said. I didn't answer. She motioned toward a small exam room. "Wait here. The doctor will be in shortly." The door closed behind her. I sat on the exam table, the paper crinkling under my weight. Same position as before, hands on my knees. The room was plain, beige walls, faded medical posters, a plastic spine model sitting on the counter like it had been there forever. So I waited. 10 minutes. Then 20. Then 30. Through the thin walls, I could hear other names being called. Light conversations. A laugh or two. The sound of things moving smoothly. Just not for me. Finally, the door opened. The doctor walked in without looking up, eyes fixed on a tablet. Mid-40s. Tired face. White coat wrinkled at the elbows. "Mr. Kowalski," he said, not really asking. "Yeah." He glanced up, and for half a second something crossed his face. Then it disappeared, replaced by a practiced, professional calm. "Looks like you're here for a routine checkup." "That's right." He set the tablet down and picked up his stethoscope. Deep breath. The exam was quick. Efficient. All business. Lungs sound clear. Heart rate's good. Reflexes normal. I nodded. "Any concerns? Pain? Anything bothering you?" "No." "All right. You're good. Front desk will set up your next visit." That was it. No conversation. No warmth. Just information, then the end. I stood. "Thanks." He was already back to his tablet. Out in the hallway, I passed another patient being guided into a room. The nurse with them smiled, asked about their weekend, laughed at something they said. I kept walking. At the front desk, a different receptionist, young, chewing gum, barely lifted her eyes. "Name? Kowalski." She typed. Clicked. Typed again. "We can see you again in 6 months. June 14th. Morning or afternoon?" "Morning." She printed a card and slid it toward me. "Next." I took it and turned to leave. That's when I saw him. An old man stood near the entrance, probably in his 80s. He wore a faded veteran's cap and leaned hard on a cane. His hands shook as he tried to push open the heavy glass door. It didn't move. He tried again. Still nothing. People walked past him, looked, kept going. His face tightened with frustration as he glanced around, hoping someone would help. I walked toward him. His eyes widened a little, and he shifted back half a step. I didn't stop. I reached past him, grabbed the handle, and pulled the door open. Held it there. He hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you, son." His voice cracked at the end. I didn't say anything. I just kept holding the door until he was through, then let it close gently behind him. No one seemed to notice. Or if they did, it didn't matter. I walked back toward the waiting area. My appointment was finished, but something made me slow down. I couldn't explain it. Just a feeling. I sat back down in the same chair as before and waited. People continued coming and going. A mother with her son, a man on crutches, a young couple holding hands. The security guard passed by again and frowned. "You still here?" "Yeah." "Your appointment's over?" Yeah. His hand drifted toward his radio. Then why are you still sitting here? I met his eyes. Calm. Steady. Just resting. It was true. Just not the whole truth. He studied me for a long moment, then walked away, muttering into his radio. I closed my eyes, breathed, and felt the weight of every stare, every whisper, every assumption settle on my shoulders. I'd been carrying that weight my whole life. A few more minutes weren't going to break me. The scream tore through the room without warning. It cut straight through the air and stopped everyone cold. I saw a woman near the back hallway, her hands clamped over her mouth, eyes wide with pure panic. Someone help. Please. My eyes flew open. People turned toward her, confused voices starting to rise all at once. She staggered forward, tears running down her face. My daughter, she's not breathing. For a split second, everything went quiet. Then the room exploded into noise. Chairs scraped back. People jumped to their feet. Voices piled on top of each other. Call 911. Where's the doctor? Oh my God. But no one moved toward the hallway. I stood up. I didn't run. I didn't yell. I walked, fast and focused, straight toward her. Show me. My voice came out low and steady. She grabbed my arm and pulled me down the hall, words tumbling over each other. She just collapsed. I don't know what happened. Please. We turned the corner. A little girl lay on the floor. 6 or 7 years old. Her lips were starting to turn blue. Her chest wasn't moving. I dropped to my knees beside her. How long? I asked. I don't know. Maybe 30 seconds? A minute? I tilted her head back and checked her airway. Clear. I placed 2 fingers against her neck. Nothing. Behind me, people crowded the doorway, watching, gasping, frozen in place. The security guard pushed forward. What's going on? Call an ambulance, I said without looking up. Right now. He hesitated. Are you? Now. That did it. I placed my hands on the girl's chest, one over the other, arms locked straight. And I started. 1, 2, 3. The motion felt automatic, like muscle memory taking over. I counted under my breath, steady and controlled. 15 compressions. I tilted her head back, pinched her nose, and gave 2 breaths. Her chest rose, then fell. Nothing. I went right back to compressions. Someone behind me started crying. I didn't slow down. Didn't stop. Sweat ran down my forehead. My jacket felt too heavy, too hot, but I didn't think about it. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. 30 more. 2 more. Come on, I whispered. Come on, kid. Her mother dropped to her knees beside me, hands clenched together. Please, please. A nurse rushed in with a medical bag and knelt across from me. I've got oxygen. Keep compressions going, she said as she pulled out a small mask. I nodded and kept pushing. 1 minute passed. Then another. My arms burned. My shoulders screamed. I didn't stop. Then, the girl coughed. Her body jerked. Her eyes fluttered open. I leaned back, breath tearing out of my chest. The nurse quickly placed the oxygen mask over her face. That's it, sweetheart. Just breathe. You're okay. The mother collapsed over her daughter, crying, thanking God, thanking anyone who would listen. The girl looked at me, confused, frightened, alive. I didn't smile. I just gave her a small nod. Then I stood up. My legs trembled as I stepped back and made room for the paramedics rushing in, radios crackling, equipment clattering. We've got her, one of them said. Good work. They lifted the girl onto a stretcher. Her mother followed, still crying, still holding her hand. The crowd parted as they headed for the exit. And then it went quiet again. Everyone turned to look at me. I stood there in the hallway, hands at my sides, breathing hard. No one said a word. The security guard stared at me like he'd never seen me before. The woman with the pearls covered her mouth, hands shaking. The father who'd pulled his daughter away earlier met my eyes, then looked down at the floor. I turned around and walked back into the waiting room. I sat back down in the same chair as before, the exact one. My hands were still shaking, even though everything else in the room had gone quiet. No one came up to me right away. They just stared, whispered, but the tone had changed. Did you see that? He saved her. I thought he was. Oh my God. The nurse from earlier, the one who took my blood pressure, walked over slowly and stopped a few steps away. That was incredible, she said. I kept my eyes on the floor. Where did you learn how to do that? I didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, I said, combat medic. Army. Long time ago. She nodded like the pieces were finally lining up in her head, opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. Thank you. I didn't say anything. She walked away. The security guard came next. His face was flushed, and he wouldn't quite meet my eyes. Hey man. He stopped, swallowed hard. I'm sorry. For earlier. I shouldn't have. It's fine, I said. No, it's not. I just assumed. I know what you assumed, I said. My voice wasn't angry, just worn down. Everyone does. He shifted on his feet. Still, thank you. For what you did. I nodded. He left. Then they came one by one. The woman with the pearls clasped her hands together. I misjudged you. The receptionist who barely looked at me earlier said, I'm sorry I was rude. The father with the little girl didn't say a word. He just held out his hand. I shook it. His eyes were wet. I'm sorry. She's just a kid, I said. She didn't know any better. But I did, he said. I didn't respond. Because what was there to say? He nodded and walked away. An older man sat down beside me. He wore a veteran's cap, the brim worn thin. We sat in silence for a bit. Then he spoke. Where'd you serve? Afghanistan. 2 tours. He nodded. Vietnam. 3. We sat there again, quiet. People don't see it, he said softly. What we carry. I looked at him then. Really looked. His eyes were far away, heavy with things he never put down. No, I said. They don't. They just see the jacket, the boots, the ink. Yeah, not the reasons behind them. My throat tightened. He stood up slowly and rested a hand on my shoulder. You did good today, son. Then he walked off. I was alone again, but the room felt different now. People weren't avoiding me anymore. Their looks carried something else. Guilt, gratitude, pity. I didn't like any of it, because they still didn't see me. They saw a hero, a moment, a story they could feel good about. They didn't see the man who came in for a routine checkup and just wanted to go home. The man who was tired, bone-tired, tired of being judged, tired of being feared, tired of being invisible until someone needed him. A young woman approached me, early 20s, tears still on her cheeks. That was my niece, she said. The little girl. Her voice broke. Thank you. Thank you so much. I nodded. She hesitated. Can I hug you? My body stiffened. You don't have to. It's okay, I said. I stood up. She wrapped her arms around me and cried into my shoulder. I stood there awkwardly, not sure what to do with my hands. Finally, I patted her back. She's going to be okay. She pulled away, wiping her eyes. Because of you. Because I was here, I said. Anyone could have done it. But they didn't, she said. You did. She squeezed my hand and walked away. I sat back down, and that's when it hit me. I didn't want their thanks. I didn't want their apologies. I didn't want to be a hero in their story. I just wanted to be left alone. About 20 minutes later, the mother came back. Her daughter was stable now. They were transferring her to the hospital just to be safe. She spotted me right away, still sitting in the same chair. She walked toward me slowly, like I might break if she moved too fast. I don't even know your name, she said. That's okay. No, she replied softly. I need to know who saved my daughter. I looked up at her then. Really looked. I could see it in her eyes, the fear that hadn't let go yet. Ryan, I said. Ryan. She repeated, like she was trying to lock it into her heart. Ryan, I don't have the words for. You don't need them. Yes, I do. You gave me my daughter back. I can never. You don't owe me anything. She knelt down in front of me and took my hands in hers. Yes, she said quietly. I do. My jaw tightened, and I turned my head away. I saw how people treated you, she continued. When you walked in, I saw it. And I hate to admit this, but I did it too. I stayed silent. I judged you. I assumed things. And you still, her voice cracked. You still saved her. I didn't do it for you, I said. I know. She squeezed my hands gently. But you did it anyway. I carefully pulled my hands free. Your daughter's waiting for you. She nodded and stood. Thank you, Ryan. I didn't watch her walk away. I stared down at the floor instead. At my boots. At my hands. The same hands that had pushed life back into a small chest. They were still shaking. I stood up slowly, pulled my jacket tighter around me, and headed for the exit. People watched as I passed. Some nodded. Some smiled. Some just stared. The security guard held the door open for me. I paused and met his eyes. Have a good day, sir, he said quietly. I nodded once and stepped outside. The sunlight hit hard. Too bright. I pulled my sunglasses from my pocket and slipped them on. My motorcycle was parked right where I'd left it. Black, worn, dependable. I swung a leg over and started the engine. The rumble settled my nerves. Familiar, steady. I sat there for a moment with my hands on the grips, thinking about nothing, thinking about everything. Then I pulled out of the lot, down the street, around the corner, and I was gone. Back inside the community center, the receptionist looked at the nurse. Did anyone get his information? A phone number? The nurse shook her head. No, he was just gone. Should we try to find him? The nurse shook her head again. They both looked toward the door, at the empty space where I'd been. He didn't want attention, the nurse said softly. He just wanted to help. The receptionist was quiet for a long moment. We judged him, she said. Yes, the nurse replied. In seconds. Yes. And he saved her anyway. The nurse nodded. What does that say about us? She didn't answer. Because there wasn't a simple one. They made up their minds about me in a matter of seconds. They were afraid without knowing why. They talked about me like I wasn't even a person in the room. And when it mattered most, when someone needed help, when fear locked everyone else in place, I was the one who stepped forward. Not because I was looking for approval, not because I wanted thanks or praise, but because doing nothing was never an option. Real strength doesn't argue with opinions. It doesn't waste energy explaining itself. It doesn't demand attention or recognition. It just shows up. It does what needs to be done. And when the moment passes, it leaves, without noise, without ceremony, the same way it arrived, leaving behind a single, uncomfortable question. How many people have we already judged, who might have been the first to save us if we'd only let them?